Night falls with a slow and absolute certainty. It is not the gentle dark of a room with a lamp, nor the harmless shadow behind a door, but a darkness that is alive, a presence that breathes and presses, that stains the mind with memory and dread. In the hush before midnight, the world is stripped of its safety. The trees become sentinels. The wind is a whisper from a time when the earth was still raw, and the line between the living and the dead was thin as a blade. Imagine the first fear: lightning splitting the sky, thunder shaking the bones, wolves howling just beyond the fire's reach. The world, to those who came before us, was not a place of comfort. It was a place of hunger and uncertainty, a place where the sun might not rise, where sickness and famine could sweep away a village in a single pitiless season. The world was wild and watchful, and the gods who haunted it were not our friends. In this world, nothing was given freely. Birth, rain, harvest, the turning of the year, each was a fragile gift, precarious and easily lost. What held back the flood, the plague, the endless night? The people did not know, not as we know, but they sensed it in their marrow. The world demanded something. It was alive, and its hunger could be felt in the trembling of the earth and the silence after a scream. And so the ritual was born, not as cruelty, but as necessity. The first offering may have been an animal, a token, a prayer cast into the darkness, but always the hunger grew. Blood became the language, the red stream upon the stone, the warmth leaving the body, the last breath rising to the sky. These were not acts of brutality but of communication, a desperate plea to the vast and indifferent world: spare us, remember us, let us live. The ancients did not see themselves as executioners. They were intermediaries, trembling in the presence of powers they could not appease with words alone. The gods, if they saw, if they felt, if they listened, were moved not by petitions but by sacrifice. The blood of a life, animal or human, became the bridge. A contract written not on paper, but in the veins and gristle of the living. The sacrifice was a key, turning in the lock of fate. In the deep night, under the cold stars, the people gathered. They watched as the chosen one, sometimes a stranger, sometimes a neighbor, sometimes even a cherished child, was brought forward. There were tears, yes, and fear, but also awe and hope. The sacrifice was not mere death. It was a transformation, an alchemy of flesh into prayer, pain into promise. The victim was not simply destroyed, they were sent, delivered, beyond the reach of mortal arms, into the hands of the gods. Around the fire, the watching faces were painted with the flickering red of flame, and in their eyes shone the ancient terror. What if we do not give enough? What if the world's appetite is endless? The priests, marked by ash and blood, spoke words in the old tongue, words that were not for human ears, but for the hidden things that moved in the dark. The knife flashed, the blood spilled, and the world, for a moment, seemed to hold its breath. The sacrifice was not only an act of faith, but of fear. The ancients believed the world could be bargained with, that the balance of existence could be kept with offerings. Yet beneath this hope, there was always the darker suspicion. Perhaps the world was merely hungry, and the only answer to its hunger was more. More blood, more pain, more sacrifice. And so the ritual continued, through centuries and continents, across temples and forests, deserts and mountains. The logic of blood was never far from the heart of civilization. It was woven into the stories, the myths, the laws, the very marrow of what it meant to be human. To sacrifice was to acknowledge the world's power, to admit our own smallness, to bargain with death on the edge of the night. What if they were right? What if the world really does remember blood? What if the gods were not wrong to ask, and the people not wrong to answer? Step forward, across the line of salt and ash, into the true darkness. Leave behind the comfort of disbelief. Here, at the threshold, the gate of blood stands open. Beyond it, the old rites wait. The descent begins. Step now into the Valley of Mexico, where the land itself is a great breathing altar. The sun is not a symbol here, it is a living god, a force of fury and warmth, and every day is a war against the returning night. The city of Tenochtitlan rises from water and stone, its causeways gleaming, its people moving in endless procession toward the pyramid's shadow. Here, sacrifice is not a hidden thing. It is the axis upon which the world turns. The Aztecs walk beneath the sun with the knowledge that all things hang by a thread. The gods are not distant, they are present, watching, in need. The sun, Huitzilopochtli, battles every dawn against the devouring dark. If he falters, if he weakens, the world will shudder and slide into chaos. The priests ascend the steps of the Templo Mayor, their bodies painted, their faces masked with the skin of jaguars, their hands steady. Below, the city gathers, thousands upon thousands, their hearts pulsing in time with the drums. The beating of those drums is not just music, it is the echo of the heart, the promise of blood. The chosen ones ascend. Some are captives, taken in ritual war, the flowery war, a contest not only of arms but of fate. Some are volunteers, believing themselves to be transformed in death, to become divine in the instant of sacrifice. Their flesh is adorned, their faces calm or shining with tears. They look to the sky, to the faces of their kin, to the obsidian blade. The priest's hand does not waver. The heart is offered, lifted high, its warmth steaming in the morning chill. Blood flows down the steps, painting the stone with the color of sunrise. The body is not merely discarded, it is used, sometimes consumed, sometimes cast down, sometimes given to the earth, always with reverence, always with fear. This is not savagery, not to them. It is the deepest logic. The gods have given their own blood to shape the cosmos. The gods themselves were once sacrificed, their bodies torn, their hearts flung into the void to bring forth sun, moon, and stars. To repay that debt, the Aztecs must give in turn. The world is an engine of blood, a machine that runs on sacrifice. The sun rises only because hearts are broken open in its name. Children are sometimes chosen, their innocence seen as especially potent. Warriors are honored, their valor transmuted into sacred power. The people do not look away. They watch, they weep, they sing, believing that without this offering, they themselves would perish. The world would freeze, the rivers would dry, the crops would rot in their fields. The sacrifice is not the end, it is a beginning. The soul of the victim journeys to the sun, becomes a companion to the gods, a force in the endless struggle against the night. The people feast, dance, and mourn. The city pulses with the knowledge that for another day, the bargain has been kept. The world continues. But beneath this cycle, there is dread. The priests dream of omens, eclipses, strange birds, winds that wail like lost children. They know the gods are insatiable, that the sun's appetite is never truly sated, that every dawn is both victory and warning. The river of blood must flow, or all will be lost. This is their truth. The beauty of the world is bought with suffering, and only in sacrifice can order be remade from chaos. In the ruins of Tenochtitlan, the stones are silent, but the memory of blood is not. It lingers, a shadow in the morning, a tremor in the earth, a testament to the people who believed that only through death could the dawn be born. Eastward, across the rippling sea lies Carthage, a city radiant with wealth, its walls white and shining in the sun, its harbors teeming with ships, its markets full of spices, silver, and the rumors of distant empires. But beneath the bustle and the fragrance of cedar, there is a trembling in the earth, a secret pulse beating beneath the stones. Carthage is haunted by its gods, and the greatest of these is Baal-Hamon, a god of fire, a god of cycles, a god who is never satisfied. Here, the sacred logic is hard and cold as iron. Life itself is currency, and when the world grows cruel, when the rains fail, when the enemy gathers at the gates, when pestilence stalks the city's alleys, the people know what must be done. They gather at the Tophet, an open precinct of stone urns and blackened altars where the wind smells of ash and the past never sleeps. the offering is chosen. It is not always a stranger, not always a captive. Sometimes it is a child, a beloved child, dressed in fine linen, garlanded with flowers. The parents' faces are masks, anguish and hope knotted together, the agony of loss twisted with the desperate faith that their gift will be heard. The priests, robed and veiled, speak the ancient words. The crowd does not look away, for to turn from the ritual is to risk the anger of the god, to sentence the whole city to doom. The fire is kindled. The drums begin, slow and relentless, drowning out the cries. The child is lifted, surrendered, becoming more than flesh, a vessel, a plea, a voice sent into the darkness. The flames leap, the smoke rises, twisting toward the sky. The air is thick with incense, with sorrow, with a hope as raw as any wound. The ashes are gathered, placed in urns, buried in layers beneath the earth. Each urn is a prayer, a contract, a memory. The Tophet grows, season by season, a graveyard of hope and terror, a testament to the belief that the world can be bargained with if the price is high enough. To us, it is an unthinkable horror, but to them, it is necessity. The god is not a gentle father. Baal Hamon watches with the impassive eyes of eternity. He must be moved, or the city will perish. The sacrifice is an act of love twisted into desperation, a belief that by giving what is most precious, the many can be saved. The child passes beyond, becomes an intercessor, a spirit dwelling in the god's shadow, able to plead for mercy in ways the living cannot. The city waits. The priests watch the sky for omens, the curl of smoke, the flight of birds, the sudden shift in the wind. If rain falls, if the enemy withdraws, if the plague recedes, the people breathe again, believing the price has been accepted. If not, the hunger returns, the fires are rekindled, and the cycle resumes. The Tophet endures, layer upon layer, ashes upon ashes. The memory of those sacrifices is not erased by time. It seeps into the soil, the roots of olive trees, the hearts of those who remain. The city's grandeur fades. Its empire falls to ruin, but the earth remembers. The winds that sweep the ruins still carry the scent of fire, the echo of weeping, the question that cannot be silenced. Was it faith, or was it terror? Was it devotion, or was it madness? Or did the Carthaginians see something we have forgotten? Did they know the true cost of survival, that sometimes to keep the world turning, the living must feed the fire, must give their joy to the darkness and hope, trembling for dawn? Beneath the stones, the ashes whisper. Sacrifice is never truly silent. Northward, where the mists drift low and the sun is a pale ghost behind endless clouds, another world of sacrifice waits. Here, in the forests and bogs of ancient Gaul and Britain and Ireland, the Celts move in silence through their sacred groves. The air is thick with the scent of moss and peat, the hush of old trees whose roots remember everything. The gods of this land are not distant, not locked in the sky. They are everywhere, hidden in the streams, breathing in the wind, rising from the earth itself. The border between mortal and divine is a line blurred by fog and shadow, crossed each night by dreams and by the dead who walk among the living. Every stone is a marker, every spring a portal, and every act of violence, if done in the right place and manner, is transformed into ritual. The Celts do not build pyramids. Their temples are the wild places, groves where the sacred oak stands, clearings where the moonlight falls untouched, bogs that swallow the careless and the chosen alike. Here, sacrifice is not made for spectacle, but for necessity. The world is a body, and blood is its sap. When the fields yield little, when the cattle sicken, when the shadow of war falls across the land, the people turn to the oldest remedy, an offering of life. The chosen may be a prisoner taken in battle, or a noble volunteer seeking to earn a place among the ancestors. Sometimes it is a king himself, offered to appease the anger of the gods and renew the land. The Druids, shrouded in white, move among the people, their faces unreadable, their words heavy with power. They know the old formulas, the names never spoken aloud, the gestures that open doorways between worlds. It is winter. The ground is hard, the air sharp. The tribe gathers in a ring of standing stones, old as memory. The victim is led forward, adorned with garlands, sometimes intoxicated with the honey wine of mead, sometimes singing, sometimes silent. The knife is bronze, or iron, or sharpened flint. The blood spills onto the earth, soaking the roots, darkening the moss. The Druids chant, their voices rising with the steam of breath in the cold. Sometimes, the sacrifice is drowned in the bog, the body swallowed by the peat, preserved for centuries, hair and skin and sorrow locked away beneath the mire. Sometimes, the heart is cut out, the body burned, the ashes scattered to the four winds. Always, the ritual is precise, the order unchanging, the meaning beyond simple cruelty. The dead do not vanish, they become part of the land, the water, the air. Their suffering is believed to mend the broken fabric of the world. In the stories, the gods are not merely appeased, they are awakened, fed, made strong enough to protect the tribe. The harvest is renewed, the spring returns, the cattle thrive. The cycle of life and death, of giving and taking, is balanced once more. Yet there is fear, too. The sacrifices do not always bring the hoped-for blessing. Sometimes the land remains barren, the shadows linger, the gods remain silent. Then, the people ask, have we failed? Was the offering unworthy? Is the hunger of the world endless? The bogs keep their secrets. Bodies found centuries later bear the marks of ritual, the broken bones, the deliberate wounds, the careful arrangement. Even in death, the victims are not abandoned. Offerings are left, feasts are held, songs are sung. The sacrifice is never forgotten, for it is the price of belonging to the land, of being part of the old, unending story. The Celts know that blood is not wasted. It is a message, a key, a binding. Their world is not gentle, but it is just, if the right price is paid. In the hush of the forest, in the stillness of the bog, in the echo of the drums, the ritual endures. The earth is fed, and for a little while, the balance is restored. But always, the question lingers, as cold and persistent as the northern mist. How much must the living give to keep the world alive? And what waits in the darkness, if ever the blood should stop? Beyond the forests of the Celts, beyond the temples of the Aztecs and the ashes of Carthage, the logic of blood and offering stretches across the centuries and continents. In each forgotten valley and on every sacred mountain, the bargain is struck anew. The world is a great and restless body, hungry for what is vital, and the ancients everywhere listen to its demands. In the high Andes, the Inca lead their children up slopes where the air is thin and the gods are close. The chosen ones are not taken in terror but honored, clothed in fine garments adorned with gold, sung to sleep with lullabies. They are given chicha to drink, their eyelids grow heavy, and as snow falls, the children slip away into the arms of the mountain. Their bodies are found centuries later, perfect, frozen, serene. The world preserves them, as if unwilling to let such offerings go. In the shadowed courts of ancient China, the Shang kings descend into death with a retinue of servants and wives. The tomb is a kingdom of silence. The living are killed and buried beside the ruler, to serve him in the next world, to ensure his comfort, and to appease the ancestors who wait in the darkness beyond. Each life is a coin in a currency older than words, a hope that the border between the worlds can be crossed in both directions. In Polynesia, on lost islands where the sea is both barrier and path, the chiefs offer their blood to the gods of volcano and wave. In West Africa, the kings of Dahomey send prisoners to the afterlife in great ceremonies, the air thick with the smell of blood and gunpowder, the drums echoing the heartbeat of the earth. Even in Rome, at the heart of so-called civilization, The old logic endures. Gladiators bleed before cheering crowds, their deaths a spectacle, a sacrifice to fate and fortune, to Mars and the restless shades. The arena is a stage for ritualized violence, a place where the gods are fed by the courage and agony of the doomed. The shape and color of sacrifice changes, but its essence remains. It is never just about death. It is about connection, about exchange. The living offer up their own, sometimes willingly, more often not, in the hope that the world will be soothed, the gods appeased, the dead made into guardians rather than enemies. Always there is a fear beneath the ritual. What if the offering is not enough? What if the world's hunger is bottomless, its patience short? The priests watch for omens, the people wait for signs, a change in the wind, a sudden rain, a victory in battle, or a newborn calf. These are read as answers, proof that the price has been paid, the contract honored, but the ritual does not always bring peace. There is guilt, there is grief, there is the knowledge that safety is bought with pain. In the haunted nights after the fires burn out, the survivors remember the faces of the lost, the sound of their cries, the trembling in their own hands as they offered what was demanded. And yet, the sacrifices continue. The logic of the world is pitiless, and the line between sacred and profane is easily crossed. In every corner of the earth, the same question rises like smoke. What must we surrender to survive? What must we give to keep the balance, to hold back the darkness just one more day? Perhaps, as the ancients believed, the world itself is listening. Perhaps every offering, every cry, every drop of blood is counted, weighed, remembered by something vast and nameless. Perhaps the gods are not gone, but merely silent, waiting for the next bargain, the next act of faith or desperation. In the end, all sacrifice is a reaching out, a hand extended into the void, a heart laid bare for powers unseen. It is fear and hope, madness and love, woven together in the oldest language of all. The world is not gentle, the bargain is never simple, the blood sinks into the earth, and the silence waits for an answer. And now, the descent is nearly done. The fires have burned low, the altars stand cold, and the stones drink in the silence of centuries. The cities of sacrifice lie in ruin, their pyramids choked by vines, their temples lost to sand, their groves and bogs hidden beneath the slow, patient hand of time. Yet the question remains, haunting and unresolved, pulsing beneath the surface of our own dreams. What did it mean, all this blood, this suffering, this ancient pact? The ancients were not fools. They looked into the heart of the world and saw a chasm. They saw the fragility of order, the thin thread that holds life above the abyss. They knew hunger, plague, war, and loss, not as distant threats, but as daily companions. Their rituals were not born from cruelty alone, but from a longing for meaning, for safety, for some bargain that might keep chaos at bay. They offered up what was most precious, believing that every drop of blood was a word in a language the gods might understand. Can we say they were wrong? We inherit their bones, their stories, their fears. We tell ourselves we are different, that the age of sacrifice is over, that blood no longer stains the altar stones. But listen, our sacrifices have only changed their forms. We give up time, innocence, strangers. We send the young to die in wars. We offer ourselves to invisible gods, of money, of nation, of progress, of love. We bleed for causes, for dreams, for the hope of a future that will repay the debt of the past. The logic remains, something must be given for something to be gained. Our rituals are quieter, but the shadow endures. We still seek to bargain with fate. We still fear the world's hunger. We still wonder, in the darkness before sleep, what price we must pay to keep our own lives safe, to hold back the returning night. Perhaps sacrifice is not a relic, not a superstition, but the oldest ritual of the soul, a recognition that life is always balanced on the edge of loss, and that meaning is born in the willingness to give up what we cannot bear to lose. Perhaps the ancients saw clearly what we try to forget, that the world is a place of appetite, that the gods, by whatever name, are always listening, always waiting to see what we will offer. So close your eyes, feel the weight of all those who have come before, the echo of their prayers, the memory of their trembling hands. Their voices wind through the centuries, soft as smoke, sharp as a knife's edge, reminding you that the old logic has never truly vanished. Sacrifice is still with us, in every choice, every loss, every secret hope that suffering might buy us another day of light. The shadow never left. It waits, patient and hungry, at the edge of every dream, in the silence after every prayer. Listen, the world remembers.